As much as I like to call myself a controversy connoisseur, I'll admit I've been lax in tackling very recent controversies. The nature of the internet right now has made me a bit uncomfortable in doing so. And I know I'm not very popular, but a neo-Nazi left a comment on the last episode, so anything's possible. I guess as with the topic of women in games though, sometimes you just gotta dive into that messy pool and hope you come out with your dignity intact, as well as your swimsuit. Also, Revolution 60 PC still isn't out yet. Now that I think about that game, I'm getting kinda worried about it. That thing was supposed to be out by now, unless Steam has been fingering its secret tunnel for the past month and hasn't done shit like usual. I don't know though, it's weird it isn't out by now. Hope it's alright. Also, I hope you don't find what I say about these upcoming topics too troublesome. I like to think my small audience is made up of reasonable people, and I'd like to continue thinking that as well. And if you do end up not liking it anyway, well, it could have been worse. I could have just made a video of me doing nothing but this. Today's game is Overwatch, and it caused controversy. Overwatch is one of those newfangled shooty-up games that all them young people seem to be into at this moment. But being a fat slob who doesn't play new games because he doesn't have time for that shit, I haven't played it myself. I've played the game's inspiration, Team Fortress 2, quite vigorously though, so I can certainly see its appeal. Anyway, Overwatch is quite a popular game. Even before its release, it garnered a gigantic fanbase and quite a lot of hype around the community. But even the hypest games can somehow get themselves into a little controversy. You know, that game could be in a lot of trouble. I just don't know where it is. Back in March, Overwatch was going through the last legs of its development, mainly gameplay betas and heavy amounts of user feedback. One particular use of feedback concerned one of the game's main characters, a British time-traveling pilot named Tracer. The thread in the official Blizzard forums that addressed this concern pointed out one of Tracer's victory poses, something that all the characters have a variety of throughout the game. The pose in question was this, a bit of a sassy swaying stance that gave us a nice view of the Tracer's ass. The people concerned with this pose said it was over-sexualizing Tracer a bit too much and, more importantly, was out of character. Not too concerned with the former thought, but having seen Tracer in action,
here. You know, the world could always use more heroes.
Nice.
I agree with the latter. Don't get me wrong, it's certainly a nice pose, and definitely a nice ass if you know what I mean.
Nice.
But I don't think sassiness fits Tracer that well. I think something like this would be more suitable for, well, actually, Tracer is one of the only Overwatch characters I know, so someone else. Okay, let's, here we go, Bayonetta! You can feel the sass emanating from this pose, that classic Bayonetta sass. Perhaps you could say that she has maximum sass. And the ass is there as well, that's always nice to see. Keeping this in mind, do you think that someone like Bayonetta would be akin to someone like Tracer? No? I thought so. A little while later, Blizzard decided to remove the pose, and being in the internet era we are now, everyone calmly allowed Blizzard to do this without consequence. Doesn't that kind of thing sound great? If only that were true. While there were a sizable amount of people who didn't mind the removal of the pose, including me, there were also a sizable amount of people up in arms about it. The main argument revolving around the outrage said that Blizzard had foregone its creative control over their project in response to a few people in a forum, and had censored themselves. Oh god, not this shit. The topic of censorship has become quite a touchy and confusing one in today's media, where it seems there's a blurred line between editing and censorship. And a lot of people are more willing to use the latter term than blow something out of proportion that really didn't need to be blown out of proportion. Let's put this out there. I know what censorship is when I see it, and I know what kind of censorship actually affects me and what kind of censorship I couldn't give less of a shit about. In this case, I can say with confidence, this isn't censorship, you ignorant twits. While I can't necessarily speak for Blizzard, this was completely their decision and their decision alone. Despite the thread's advice, it was solely up to Blizzard as to whether or not they would keep the pose. And considering they were thinking about removing the pose even before the concerns were brought up, well, that says it all, doesn't it? I see this as an edit. One tiny pose from a small part of a massive game being removed, I see as an edit and nothing more. It's simply an edit, people. There's a difference, alright? A difference! I wonder if you can put an APB out for video games. Now, let's say someone actually forced them to make the change. Let's say Sony or Microsoft or fucking Gaming stepped in and said, "Oh, no, you have to remove that pose or else your game can't be on our system." Let's say there's a law where you can't have asses be the primary focus of video game poses or something like that. That is censorship. And I also doubt the commenter actually went to their studios and held them hostage with a gun until they removed the pose either. So honestly, anyone saying this is censorship, I imagine looks like this. But that isn't all, folks. Blizzard had prepared a new pose to replace the one that they had removed. Now, I want you to put yourself in the position of one of the titheads who freaked out over the removal. Naturally, you probably imagine the new pose would be something more safe, because they bow down to that one commenter who wants his daughter to be able to play the game without being exposed to dead ass. So, with this in mind, what's the first thing that pops into your head after you see this? This was the new pose for Tracer. Something a bit more in character, and something that actually still displays dead ass. Do you feel regret, confusion, apathy, the need to wank off to this new Tracer pose? I'll admit, it's easy to call this ridiculous now because of hindsight, but even in March, I thought this outrage was stupid. I don't see why this was brought upon Blizzard because of such a tiny part of the game, but since this era of the internet allows that to happen, I guess it's no surprise either. Still, this gets tiring after a while. Every little piece of content removed, every tiny visual change, every minuscule dialogue edit, no matter how small these changes may be, and no matter how noble the reason is for doing so, it seems like there's no way a lot of these people can distinguish editing from actual censorship. And this line blurring is dangerous, very dangerous. At this rate, people will be flipping a tit over the next Zelda game having a minigame removed because the developers didn't find it fun, or the next Dishonored game having a stealth kill removed because the developers felt it didn't fit in with the game's atmosphere, or the next God of War having a Norse removed because the writers couldn't craft a good narrative around them, or the next Rhythm Heaven game removing a song because the developers thought it was just too silly for all the kiddies. Speaking of blowing things out of proportion, this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I call a controversy. The most pointless of all controversies, where there's no gain whatsoever. Perhaps there was some conversation that sparked because of this, but Overwatch overall falls into this category quite neatly. Alongside Miley Spears, Mass Effect 1, the Tomb Raider reboot, that Marlboro thing, Bayonetta 2, to an extent, and whatever this thing was. Luckily, this dumb controversy didn't hamper Overwatch's success at all. A lot of people like it, and it seems to be one of the best games of 2016. The microtransactions are kinda stupid though. In any case, I'm definitively looking forward to the response of this episode. I just know it's gonna be completely positive. All positive. I actually am really looking forward to the response. I'm interested in seeing what you guys think about it. Now, if you excuse me, I have some important business to do.
Hello?
Hey, it's me. I need your help.
Alright, with what?
A game's gone missing, and I need you to find it.
I'm on my way.